Ondergronds Kabaal.
Welcome to Ondergronds Kabaal after a few rearrangements of the...
This group?
We really need to do a reel about that.
Yes, every episode.
Anyway.
It's a tradition.
We're talking about progressive metal today, and
Yeah.
as you can see, we have another guest in our midst. So let's have a little introduction for those of you who've never watched Ondergronds Kabaal, which is hopefully all of you, because I hope to gain more followers at the end of the video. Or maybe right now you can just press follow. Or subscribe, whatever. On my left side, on the right side for you, it's Raaf.
Yes, it's Raf from Monomic.
Yes, and my name's Nicky, and we have a special guest today, which is...
My name is Chris, and I'm with Behind Closed Doors. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, for sure. Because I've been following Behind Closed Doors for quite a while now, and I've been talking about Behind Closed Doors in our podcasts way too often. Which is also probably the reason why I invited you. And also the reason why I was excited about the progressive episode in any case, because yeah, I think that's my favorite metal genre. And also one of the genres that really got me into metal. But for people that don't know Behind Closed Doors yet, can you explain a little bit of what kind of music it is?
Yeah, sure. Behind Closed Doors is basically an instrumental metal trio with an added string quartet. So we started out as a regular instrumental metal trio, so making progressive metal in the style of when we started. This was like 20 years ago. Like, of course, Meshuggah was like a heavy influence, and Tool.
Mm-hmm.
So we started in that realm, and the first CD, the first album we published, we had a video for every song, because we figured, like, when you do instrumental metal, of course, like metal is very often focused on a singer and on like a front man, so we didn't have that, and we consciously chose not to have it. But then we also realized, like, you want to have some entertainment value in it, and not only three guys like banging their heads and
Yeah.
playing music. So we would make like a accompanying video for each song. And then it slowly progressed into this string quartet thing. And at some point, I was always interested in contemporary classical music. And the more I got into also string quartets, at some point I realized that a lot of those guitar layers I was tracking actually were perfect, like, to try in a string quartet context. So at some point I switched and tried out strings, of course, first software strings, but I became more and more of a fan of that idea to implement acoustic instruments in that realm. And then, of course, like, if you continue that path, it's not only that a string quartet can do layers and, like long notes, but string quartet is like an incredible tool for doing basically everything musically what you want to do.
Yeah.
And the more I got into string quartet repertoire, I also realized this. And if you listen to string quartets of Bartók or Shostakovich, there's so much metal in it, and it's not just the high notes and harmonies, but it's rhythm. It's all rhythm.
I was just gonna say you can do percussion things with strings as well.
Totally, yeah. So yeah, I've been on that string quartet path for like maybe a decade now, like about 10 years.
But I also heard you say that you've been going with this project for 20 years.
Yeah.
Now, 20
Basically, I met my my bass player, Fred, in music college, and we always had this kind of like rehearsal weeks where we'd go to a place where it's just like rehearsing and not like regular school, but just like playing with the ensembles. And I always had like a couple of song ideas, and this must have been like 2005, 2006 when we first like met, like in the evening of one of those rehearsal weeks, and I showed him a couple of riffs, and he was like, "Yeah, let's try to work on that." And then this was like pre-DAW time, so I the only thing I had was Reason, like Reason 3 or 5, something like that. and like a very fundamental like drum computer.
Yeah.
So this is like when we started like making music together, and then it progressed, of course, with acquiring proper equipment,
Yeah.
and then proper drum software. So we went along like the whole stages of this development. And of course, like looking for a real drummer. So,
Yeah.
but I think the very beginnings is actually Fred and me, like in a basement 20 years ago.
Cool.
Wow, old school.
Yeah.
Even sophisticated progressive bands with classical influences, they start in the basement.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All of us do.
Yeah.
I think.
Rock and roll. It's all rock and roll.
And then we record the podcast about it in a fucking basement. So
Yes.
we came full circle.
Yeah.
Yes.
But you are an international ensemble or band or whatever you want to call it. And you've been living in the Netherlands for a while now.
4.5 years now. So my wife and I relocated just right after COVID. And we lived in southern Germany, in Bavaria.
Mm-hmm.
She was living in Munich. I was living in a little town an hour north of Munich, but she was working even an hour north of me. So she was in between like three places, and I was constantly like going back and forth between Munich and my hometown. So at some point we realized, okay, when we decided to get married, we want to be in a place where it makes sense for both of us. And like Fred, our bass player, studied in Rotterdam, so he's been in the Netherlands for quite a while. And I know Florian Magnus Maier for a long time now, and of course he's based in Rotterdam. And the string quartet who tracked the string quartet tracks for our latest album are also based in Amsterdam. So there was always like a connection to the Netherlands. So my wife works in fashion, like in denim, and Amsterdam apparently is the European capital of denim. So
Oh wow.
Oh, really?
made also sense for her to come here. So Amsterdam was high on the list, and it worked out, and I'm glad it did.
Nice. Yeah, and I'm glad to call you part of the Dutch metal scene now.
Yeah, totally.
Even though I think on your Metal Archives page it still says like either international or German based or something, but.
I mean, our bass player grew up in Sweden, like on Gotland, a small island.
Yeah.
And I grew up in southern Germany, and the last album, Juma van Ekelen, tracked the drums.
Yeah.
So he's like the Dutch part. So I think like we're all kind of based in the Netherlands, but our origins go
Travel around.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. Funny you say Juma van Ekelen, because I was doing my research for this episode, and he was one of the names that came up so often in all the various progressive projects from the Netherlands.
I'm not surprised.
Are there any other musicians besides Florian in the progressive realm in the Netherlands that you really enjoy or have worked with in the past?
Enjoy for sure. Worked with in the past. I mean, I can. The last gig we played in January in southern Germany, our bass player couldn't make it, so Misha from Big Moth filled in for him.
Okay, cool.
So which was fun. It was a good dude, fun dude. And also Yuma couldn't make it, so Matthias Landes actually was drumming, and he was the drummer for Dark Fortress for a long time.
That is my favorite Florian project.
Yes.
And will ever be.
And also been
Forever
friends with
will be.
Matti for like, we also went to the same music college, so I've known him for the last 20 years. And, yeah, and he
He's
was
a phenomenal drummer.
He's a phenomenal drummer, and he was available, and he was like, yeah, sure. So
Wow.
yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah.
Cool. Well, we'll talk about your people that you like in the Dutch industry later on. But we're also talking about bands, because it is still a podcast about progressive metal in this episode. We each picked, that's a little bit different than we usually do it. Usually we pick like 3 bands each, and then
Some shout outs.
we'll do some shout outs. We'll do some shout outs at the end, so don't worry. I have a big list of shout outs, but we used to pick like bands that had at least 3 albums to make sure that they have at least some influence in the scene. For this episode, we tried to mix that up a little bit. So we each chose 2, so we still have 6 bands to talk about and 6 tracks to showcase, or we'll talk about it later anyway. we picked like a newer band and an older band.
Yes.
So what would you want to start with? It could be either old or new.
Well, I picked for the older bands. I picked Cilice, the band. I got to know them fairly late. Only like when I moved here. The viola player I've been having the joy to work with is Une van Geel, and he introduced me to Theo Holsheimer, who is the guitar player for Cilice. So
I think it's Cilice though, but
is it?
But yeah, because I have some history with this band as well. I used to work for PostNL as a post office guy, whatever, delivering mail. And the wife of one of the band members also worked there. So we talked a lot about the band. And I think if I remember correctly, it was Cilice because it translated to silence.
What
Because
language?
I don't know,
Cilice.
but might be like Spanish or Portuguese or something like that.
I don't
Yeah.
know the band, honestly. When I saw that he chose them, I'm like, interesting. I still didn't check them out, but I
You
don't
should.
know the band.
You're gonna like it.
Yeah. What are they like? What do they sound like?
I think like also a heavy influence is the progressive metal and the gent movement back
Yeah.
in
The
the
gent
2000s,
Yeah.
2010. So I can hear that influence a lot, but I think it's more than this. It's very eclectic. So there's like electronic music happening there, and
Something like a Devin Townsend realm.
yeah, it goes in this direction. But I mean, it's eclectic. I think that's the best word I
Nice,
would find.
yes. So all over the place.
It's all over the place, and it's funny because I wasn't sure how to pronounce it, so I looked it up like on the internet, like how do I pronounce this word, and
It gave you this.
it spat out Cilice, but this is like English, so
Yeah.
of course if the word originates in a different language, then the pronunciation is
Yeah.
It's
probably different. But yeah, something to ask Theo next time. I mean,
Yeah. I've never met Theo. We are friends on Facebook, I think.
he's a
but
great dude. He's a great dude and a great guitar player.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, I picked this one because like when I first listened to it, I was really flabbergasted by it because it's this gent thing but more. It's eclectic, and also the production is like if you listen to it now, it's not as polished as a lot of like modern productions are now. But this is exactly why I like it so much. It's very raw, and you can tell that there's. If something is not as polished, like I think very often the energy comes across maybe a bit better.
100% agree with you.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you can it like there's this rawness and energy to it like that I really like.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is
That is
why I
one of
picked-
my objections to modern prog or modern metal generally, like technical especially. It's too polished, it's too on the grid, too mechanical, it loses the soul. So I like that. I like that you chose something that has more of a primitive vibe. That's my cup of tea. I will definitely check them out now.
I mean I think that's the point with progressive music often is that you want to play as exact as possible. So,
Sure.
I get the aspect and the idea that you want to be that it sounds kind of machine-like.
Yeah.
But of course, like as soon as DOS came up and you had the little key Q on the keyboard you can press and everything is on the grid.
On the grid,
Yeah.
exactly. That's
It loses the human
the
aspect.
human aspect,
Yeah.
100%.
And this is rather sad. And also, like I don't really get it if you listen to a lot of modern productions when it's only quantized and everything is perfect and you don't hear any slides with the guitar or anything. Like it for me at least, it loses this aspects of being human, and then it's
100%.
yeah, and then it becomes something different. And of course, like I think it still has some validity. If I listen to like really modern stuff, what's the name of the band? Humanity's Last Breath. This is something where I was like, okay, this is guitar work I haven't heard before in that way, and it's super good produced. And at the same time, I think this is more produced like electronic music.
Yeah.
Completely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's also it's very upfront. Everything is very compressed, and but it was very interesting to listen.
Maybe because
listen to.
compositionally they were unique.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it's
I
also
know what
like a sound design I haven't heard in that way before. Also, like the use of guitars, more of a, I would say like noise generator. Like I really found refreshing. But then of course, like this is another idiom that I've been doing, because we've been trying, and I've been trying with my guitar playing to not edit, just to play it as exact as possible.
Yeah, that's for me. That's better. Practice more and play as exact as possible, other than play sloppy and just keep cutting and editing.
Yeah.
For me, there's a line to be drawn here.
Yeah,
But
totally.
I appreciate what you're saying, because I truly like progressive. I'm a very dedicated prog head, but the modern prog stuff, they are really very mechanical.
I
just feel like I'm learning only music, like I'm learning time signatures, I'm learning chord progressions and compositions, but I'm not really feeling a soul. Not every band, obviously, but yeah, there's an element of soul that is gone.
I also have so much more respect for bands that are able to play it
Live. Exactly.
Yeah.
100%. You want to see those, these songs played live in a like respectful manner, like an homage to the actual song, not
Yes,
just sloppy.
exactly.
To put in a shout out right at this
Not
spot,
now,
because
not now.
but I have to,
Early
because
on.
it's the perfect shout out spot, because I couldn't name them as one of my main
From
bands.
previous episodes, you mean?
No, from this
all right.
episode. Yeah, sorry. But Hesken, I'm not
Yeah.
sure that either of you
I know
listen
them.
to.
Yeah. I know. Yeah.
But they are.
Didn't we play with them even with Onkt when we played the Inferum?
Oh, you did.
first
Yeah,
time?
in Hilversum.
Yeah.
But they are a progressive band
Awesome
from the
band.
Netherlands, and they play more like
Opeth mixed with
Opeth,
other
but with
things.
more death metal. It's
Yeah.
more like progressive death metal, but they have like very soundscapey.
And some clean vocals, I think, right?
They have clean vocals as well, vocal harmonies.
That's
lots
why I
of
mentioned Opeth, like
bass
old Opeth.
solos and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But they
Amazing.
play without a click track. And I have so much respect just for them not to do that. Also without in ears and just
Raw.
very raw. And of course they on the album they do play with click track, but live they don't. And it's spot on, and it's I think it's really impressive.
Yeah, I think that's a great thing, because for me at least, like every song is like a living entity. And sometimes life is faster and sometimes slower.
Yeah.
So I
100%.
get it that if you play without a click track, it becomes a little bit more organic.
Oh, I was just gonna say the word.
Exactly.
Sometimes it could go faster, could go slower, but
Because you also feel different parts in a different tempo. Like, I mean, we're not talking 10 BPM, but there's like there's a bit more forward motion, or you lag behind a bit. So I think it's a valid thing, and a cool thing to do. That requires no backing tracks then, though.
Yep.
Yeah.
And of course, this also is something that happens quite often. And it's also if we play without a string quartet, then we have to rely on the string quartet tracks from the recording. So we
Yeah.
have to go click
with the
track.
click,
Yeah.
And also, like, it depends on the mood at the moment, right? Like, sometimes you're feeling energetic and stuff, and the song goes a little faster, and then sometimes it's just not, or you're feeling doomy or whatever, it goes slower. So you never know what to expect.
Yeah.
It happens with any band without click,
Yeah.
even if it's not prog. Sometimes the song could be faster, sometimes slower. So I like that organic feel, even big bands, like when you watch bands play live, like I was watching a Sepultura song the other day, just to digress a little bit. They played the song called Arise. It was like probably 50, 60 BPMs faster.
Oh.
Like it's just like a machine, but it sounds really, the crowds went nuts for
Yeah.
it. So yeah, it could work sometimes.
Let's listen to Cilice, I think.
What's the song?
I think I brought two.
Choose one.
So maybe mental breakdown.
All right.
It's a breakdown.
Let's listen to Mental Breakdown.
Thank
My pick then, because I struggled. I struggled with getting a new pick because there are a lot of prog bands spawning. It seems,
Yep.
and that's. I think it's cool to see, but it's also maybe because I'm just prog focused and I'll just spot it everywhere. But it seems like in the Dutch scene we have like these waves of genres popping up, and there was like this metalcore wave that there were a lot of metalcore bands spawning, and then now it seems like there's a little bit more prog coming in, and you see that in the metal battle as well. You saw it last year in the metal battle with Hyla winning the metal battle, but also this year because you were at no, you were not. You were at the metal battle preliminary in North Holland,
Yep.
and then we had Big Moth, Javier Valdi, and we had Traanbaard. And Traanbaard is not technically prog, but they do have some prog elements in it as well.
Yeah.
And then last weekend, Ofaira, they won the preliminary in Drenthe, which is also a symphonic progressive band from Drenthe. The infamous Nameless won in North Brabant, which is also a progressive band. So there is a lot of prog going on in the Netherlands at the moment. And then I had to pick one of the bands that I think is really interesting at the moment, and that's Cryptosis. Have either of you listened to Cryptosis before?
Of course. I know Frank, and I collaborated with him on a Slayer cover a few years ago. We did like a playthrough during COVID times.
Nice.
So yeah, and he sent me a package of the album when it came out, Swarm.
Bionic Swarm. Yeah, that was the album that they released in COVID times, and then they
Signed
had
immediately to
Celestial Death.
Yeah.
They had released last year.
Yeah. Amazing band.
2 years ago.
And they have in my opinion, one of the best extreme drummers in the scene, Marco.
Yeah.
He's just unbelievable, this guy.
Yeah, he has a last name that I cannot pronounce, but
I forgot his last name, but yeah.
Something with a lot of I's. But Cryptosis, they started as Distillator way back, and there was a trash band, and then they said, well, we don't want to be confined to this trash box anymore, let's make something else. And they changed names, and now they make like progressive trash ish, but with a lot of black and death metal influences as well.
Yep. I remember even sorry to interrupt you, when they put like a post on the band when it came out, and they started to promote it, they even cited Rush as one of their influences. Although you don't hear much of Rush because they're very extreme, but I can understand where when you listen to the album, you can spot some just hints of it, like the old 70s progressive. So they cited Rush and the most extreme black metal band, which is really cool.
Yeah, I can totally see that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the band that I wanted to put in for this episode. Two albums only, but I really hope to see them grow. They indeed signed with Century Media
right away, before any song came out.
Yeah. So that
big
promises a lot. Yeah.
Obviously, yeah. They will be big. What song do you want to play from them?
Faceless Matter, because that's my favorite track of the album.
All right.
This retro countdown.
pick.
My pick. All right. Do I start with a new one? You
Well,
guys
that's
started
up
with
to
new
you. We
ones.
started with new ones.
Let's start with a new one then. I don't have a CD. I don't know if they have a CD.
No,
yet.
they don't have a CD yet.
You mentioned them. We played well in the metal battle that they won last year. Hyla. I mean, I knew a couple of things from this band from Facebook posts and stuff, but honestly, the time that they clicked with me proper was when we just played with them in Sounds from the Underground. And on 7th of February, we played with them, and for me, they were the best band on the bill, and not just me and the other guys in my band as well, like Wild, the bassist. Man, oh man. When I saw them live, I'm like, yep, that's why they won. They deserve to win, honestly. And I went to them. I talked to the guys outside before they played. They were amazing dudes. I felt like they were a little bit nervous or something, I thought. But I think they are they're those humble dudes. They just standing outside, very shy, very down to earth, and then came on stage and fucking pummeled everything. The tightness, the quality of the sound, you can hear every bass note, every drum kick, every harmony. They had the girl from Big Moth was singing with them.
Yeah.
She's not, I think, the main singer, but she's just filling in.
The vocalist Vincent, he actually quit the band.
Yeah.
After they had like the Wacken performance, he chose to leave, and now they're without a vocalist.
Yeah, that's a shame because I listened to the song Migraine, which they have on Spotify. I think that's the only one they have, which is the one we'll choose. His clean vocals is amazing.
Yeah.
He should have stayed.
It's gotta be hard to replace. Do you know Hyla?
Only by name.
Oh, you're gonna love them.
I mean, I also looked them up, but I have to admit I'm not a Spotify user, so
you can find on YouTube. You can find this song and like 2 live version, like editions of a couple of other songs that they don't even have the titles for. They don't have nothing out, which is weird.
They had a few tracks on SoundCloud, but they took them off when they won the metal battle.
Why?
I think because they planned on releasing an album. They were actually recording an album as well, but because Vincent left, they haven't finished it yet.
Oh, so they are looking for a new singer.
But Stern, he told me that they had a few good options.
Stern is the
bass player.
The bass player, the tall dude.
Yeah.
He is amazing. He was topless at some point at the show. It's the middle of February, and he was topless and head banging, and like you're watching like a professional show. They were really above, like on a different level, even from us, from everybody.
What I really enjoyed watching them for the first time, because I didn't hear any music before seeing them live either, was that they started with like this very soft clean vocals
at some point
and then at some point like metalcore blast beats, growls, whatever. It was it's totally unexpected. And
they have all the colors. And what's the name of the guitarist that plays a little bit lead?
I don't know.
He is a phenomenal guitar player. Really, like not a single mistake. I was standing, I'm counting every metronome, counting every time signature they're doing. To my ear, they didn't make any mistakes, and it was really complicated music. So much respect for these guys. I had to choose them just because of the shock that I got when I saw them live. Like that alone was cemented my decision. Like I have to choose them even if I don't know them much.
Yeah.
But that experience was very huge. And I went actually to my band members like, see this shit? That's how it will sound. That's how I'm gonna sound. So
that's what we need to do.
Yeah. And even the sound, like they know exactly, they mixed everything properly, the bass, the guitars, you can hear the harmony, the rhythm section, everything is crisp like you're hearing a CD. Of course, shout out to the sound guy, Edo. He was the one doing it, but still, I think they knew how to like mix and master and do the choices they made on the effects and everything was spot on. So Hyla, Migraine, that would be the song.
Yeah.
that still exists. When shifting eyes take place inside of my grid, and your heart reached out to thin and wasting it. Your reflection fades and widens. Your soul doesn't remain, and time takes you away.
studied at, I don't know the English word, but at the conservatory as well?
No, that's it was in German. It was called it's a music college, and it's basically like a 3-year study where you do 2 years full time, and then the third year is like a pedagogical thing, where you can obtain a license to become a teacher.
Oh yeah, okay. Because that is the thing with progressive metal or progressive rock, and I feel like there's a lot of people that make this kind of music are really well practiced, well educated in their instrument as well. Because the guys from Hyla, they all went to the conservatory here in Amsterdam. Javier Valdi is from there as well. The guys from Hesken, 2 of them, not all of them, but 2 of them are also in the conservatory. Is it more easy to start playing prog if you have more knowledge of the like different genres and
jazz and classical and some music theory and scales and
more
stuff?
More based in skills or
Honestly, I wouldn't know. In my experience, like every musician has their unique biography, and for some people it's probably a good thing to have like a formal education, and for some people it's probably not. So I can't generalize here. Personally, for me, I have to say that I learned a ton during those 3 years because it was very intense. There was a lot of practicing, and I'm grateful for the like harmonic basis that I was able to learn there. But it comes in handy when composing, but I don't think that it's a necessity. Also with the practicing, I think the most practicing I did the 3, 4, 5 years following my education, because when you're in it, of course you try to practice as much as possible, but there's so much happening that you can't invest that much time only on your instrument because there's so many different classes you have to visit. So I just sat down when I was done with school. I started teaching, and then I would just go to a basement like this every day and just practice my ass off, and this is how it worked for me. But I think like everyone is different. So for some people, I think it's very good to have like this kind of like an academic environment. But at the same time, I mean, Arnold Schoenberg, like the dude who came up with 12-tone music, I don't think he didn't have like an academic education. Richard Wagner didn't have an academic education. I mean, there's some serious historical musical figures and composers that didn't go through this. And of course you can always argue about academic art. I mean, it's always great to have a mentor and a teacher, and it's great, but I don't know if you necessarily learn to become an artist in an academic environment.
It helps along though. I think.
It can help also to acquire skill set and the tool set, but I would doubt if this is always the prerequisite for becoming like a good
great musician. Mikhail from Opeth, he doesn't know a thing about music theory or stuff like that, but he learned how to, in time, they were very simplistic in the early days, and now they're more complex, and all that came from experience and from being with musicians that studied. But he didn't study. Van Halen too, a lot of artists, they don't know what they're doing. But I totally agree with you also on this. Like, it gives you a toolbox, I think, to have some more tricks, like to have more.
But maybe it helps if some of your band has those knowledge, and some do it more on like feeling. Because I think it does help if you are composing something that you can say, well, maybe let's do this type of time signature here, or maybe these types of skills because it just gives that feeling, or it sounds better, or whatever.
I think it helps to articulate what you want to do, like on in a score. I mean, it helps to convey the idea you have if you have like a theoretical basis and if you know how to notate stuff. But I think a lot of musicians never learn to sight read. I think Devin Townsend doesn't really know anything about scoring, but he's an amazing musician, and like also the orchestral things he's doing is just amazing, because you have like, you can do it in the box with MIDI and stuff, but then he has to have someone who translates it for an orchestra. So I think that this is like a skill set that comes in handy, but it's not a necessity, especially with modern production means we have at hand.
Yeah, for sure.
Also, Wes Montgomery, like one of the greatest jazz guitar players, I don't think he could sight read, and it's for me it's always like very gratifying to know that music is you can approach music not through an academic or theoretical lens, but you can learn it with your ear, and with it's an emotional thing.
Yeah.
And if you do it over and over, and if you're invested, then you can, especially nowadays, you can do stuff on the computer so much, and then show your friends and your co-musicians, and you can make it work. But of course, like I like that I know how to read notes, and it's fun also to prepare the scores for the string quartet, and to know stuff about that, because it's just fun to do, and then to see what
to be in on that world,
exactly. I mean, oftentimes I feel that the song dictates what it needs.
Totally.
So it's not necessarily my decision to say I'm playing a 9/8 or something. It's just something that seems to be applicable, and it has to be. It's
natural.
The best thing for the song in that moment.
Yeah.
And I also agree, like I think like a lot of technical stuff, it's kind of a bit athletic, and if you're like a young person, you want to shoot for the stars, and you want to prove something to whoever, to yourself or to your friends, and then you go in this direction, and if you acquire that tool set and you speak the language, you don't often, at least like I can only speak for myself, like I don't really think I'm going to use a 9/8 or an odd time signature. It's oftentimes I write stuff and then I have to count it myself, like what did I do here?
Yeah.
Because it becomes
relatable.
part of your language, and you're not questioning, like if we have a conversation, I'm not questioning my vocabulary all the time. I just babble.
Yeah.
And this is what I think also happens in music when you acquire a certain tool set, and if you're happy with that, then you use it and you try to tell a story.
Yeah. Next band or project, or it's not a band actually that you want to talk about.
No. My contemporary pick is Florian Magnus Maier. So he's an old friend of mine, and he's a composer, a musician residing in the Netherlands for over 30 years. But he also originates from my neck of the woods, like southeast of Germany, Bavaria. And he came to Rotterdam to study flamenco guitar, and then at some point switched to become a classical composer, which he is now. But at the same time, as a young gun, he is a metal dude. And
Dark Fortress.
Yes, exactly. He was the singer for Dark Fortress, and there's like a multitude of projects he had over the last 30 years, which every single one of them would be
incredible.
Be worth to mention.
Yep.
But I chose his latest project, which premiered last year in Amsterdam for the Flamenco Biennale, and it was like a piece he wrote for the Dutch Wind Ensemble. I think there's an additional upright bass player, there's a flamenco guitar player, there's Florian himself on voice and electric guitar, there's a Spanish singer, a percussion player, and a Spanish dancer. So I saw this twice in Amsterdam, like the pre-premiere, and then I had the pleasure of seeing it in the Muziekgebouw. And this piece is, I think it goes for like the runtime is about 1 hour and 20 minutes, if I recall correctly.
Wow!
So that's a lot of notes. And what can I say? The thing is, when you invited me for the podcast, I was like, okay, I got to prepare. I actually looked up what progressive music actually. What's the definition? Like, what is it? Because like, I surely have my definition, but this doesn't necessarily mean it's a common definition. Everyone has their own idea. And what I found is that progressive music is also defined as when a certain genre opens itself up and takes in different genres to expand their tool set. So, and I think like this is why I chose Florian's project, because I think it's the prime example of that. Is if you listen to it, there's metal music in it, there's flamenco music in it, and there's contemporary classical music in it. And he's been doing this for such a long time that it's not that you can hear, okay, there's someone who's proficient in all three different styles, and now we're playing 10 minutes metal, and then 10 minutes flamenco, and then 10 minutes contemporary music. But it's a fusion of things.
Mishmash of all of them.
Exactly, and it's coherent. It's not like you would think, okay, someone's trying something, but he's tried and he mastered it for a long time.
Yeah.
So every single time I hear new stuff by him or a project where he's involved compositionally, for me it's always very gratifying because I discover new stuff every single time, and it's something I haven't heard before, and it's fresh, and I think it's progressive in the true sense of the word.
Yeah.
Which is also, like, I was thinking when we were talking before, like, this progressive metal thing has become a genre in itself, which I find cool because it means it resonates with a bunch of people and a bunch of musicians, and they always come back to that format. But of course, over the last like 20, 30 years, since we kind of have a definition of that genre, there's also like a certain expectation when you listen to it.
That's true.
Yeah.
So, and there's this funny meme where metal songs are explained, and then you have, you know, like with the doom metal, you have like 10 minutes and it's just noise. Then you have like, and there's also like this progressive thing where it's like 15 minutes and it's like 17,000 different parts,
Yeah.
and like a math equation below it. And of course it's funny, but there's also a bit of truth to it, that it's, as soon as you're established as a certain genre, you have certain expectations, and it becomes like a thing you go to. Like you expect to hear a certain to see certain colors.
Yes,
But
yes,
with,
indeed.
that's the thing with progressive metal as a genre. It's so hard to define because it's really not a genre. Because in my mind, it's more of a way to approach music, and then you have various genres, for instance, death metal or groove metal or whatever, or rock, and that have those progressive elements mixed into it.
Yep.
And that also makes it hard to compare various bands because, for instance, if you would compare Javier Valdi to Big Mods and to whatever Florian does, those are three completely different things, which all you can all put them in the progressive box, but it's completely not the same.
I think that's why it's called progressive. Like, progressive comes from you are progressing, you know, and not predictable, not staying in one box. You're progressing. That's why it's progressive. So you are just trying to break down. That's why I said early on, like you have keys to locks, and you open new doors, and you start going into different alleys and valleys. When I was talking to the guys from Hyla, Hyla is kind of like what you said now. They have like this soft neo-prog at points, you know, like the Marillion, like the you know, Pink Floyd-ish parts, and then they go into full blast beat. Like, this is very unpredictable and very progressive. Those two used to not match in one genre or in one band, but they had it. And then they have the Meshuggah element, but with a lot of melody on top of it, but with the same, you know, polyrhythmic thing going on, but with melody on top of it. So also broke down that genre. And when I talked to them, he actually consciously told me that when we do certain things, we practice at home, we practice in the studio, we come up with certain elements, like we know the main rhythm section, what we'll do, and all of that, we compose it together. But then when we go home, I start sitting on my laptop and add those colors, you know, like when to do the melody, the harmony, the you know, certain things, flavors. They do that at home, and the orchestration, all of that, they do it at home. So yeah, they know that it's, when they do one thing, it's not done. It has to progress to another thing, and it becomes progressive. So like you said, the you know, the mixture of all these styles in one band is what makes it progressive. And I think, for me at least, one of the main elements or aspects of progressive music is to be kind of unpredictable. That's why it's progressive. Because, you know, when you, again, progressive in other terms in life, it's kind of like that. Like, you're not staying in one spot. You are moving, always moving forward to something new.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But what I like about good progressive music, and I think that the thing that you just showed me is a very good example of that, is that it makes sense. It's really
Absolutely.
complicated and technical, but
But
it doesn't
musically,
sound like
sonically,
that.
yes,
Yeah.
sonically it has to make sense. Indeed,
Yeah.
that is the key hook that makes it, progressive and famous at the same time. Otherwise, it was just doing progressive noise. I mean, some bands do that and they get famous too. But yeah, in order to create something that resonates with people, you need to have a hook in some place and it makes sense to you somehow. So yeah, they do a lot of genres and including a lot of things, but it has to have a song after all, in a way.
Yeah.
I agree. The one thing I also found out while researching progressive, that in marketing, progressive is basically looked upon as the antagonist to commercial, which I found very interesting, because like I agree with everything you say. At the same time, I also see that in progressive music, as soon as a band has a certain following and also a certain income, when it becomes like your the way you make a living, there's expectations, and then I think there's also a certain pressure to fulfill certain like progressive
Needs.
cliches.
Yeah.
Yep.
So and then of course, like I'm not blaming anyone for making a living with music if it's still possible. So but then of course, like then it's the question, if you retain the same approach for every single album, if it's still like this progressive thing. I mean, you
Yeah.
can always argue from two sides. You can say you found your voice and this is what you're doing, or you can also say, okay, we're doing this over and over again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
That's why some bands, they get like a bad, rap in certain albums because they, like you said, the fans sometimes they expect a certain
Yeah.
thing from them, and the band themselves, they want to go in a different place somehow, and maybe keep the old spirit in what they're composing,
Yeah.
but they want to move forward. Maybe they want to simplify things like Dream Theater did with a Train of Thought. It was kind of simplified, like it's called their Black Album, and it was very commercial and it was a hit. But a lot of people, the old schoolers of Prague, they're like, nah, man, that's too simplistic, too
Yeah.
on the nose. So yeah, like you said, indeed, you have to meet some expectations, but you have to fulfill your own
Yeah.
soul as well.
it's interesting that every established genre gets their own police, right?
Yeah, indeed. Yes,
some
yes.
point.
People just sitting down and
Yeah.
counting everything. Oh no, you switched that. You didn't do that. You didn't do that. And for me, that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's part of the fun, the challenge. That you have to be dangerous somehow. You want to piss some people off. You don't want to please everyone, but also you don't want to lose your fans. So you need to keep that, that balance, which I think indeed, like you said, established bands might struggle with. But yeah, very interesting conversation.
What-
So.
What I also maybe Florian can answer this question for us. What I wonder is, do people that listen to like his Dark Fortress or Alkaloid things, do they also enjoy the Flamenco Biennale music?
Well, that's probably a question Florian can answer properly. What I can say is that I always see some metalheads at concerts
Yep.
like these, like also at the Flamenco Biennale. There's always a couple of people who are wearing like band shirts. Like you can tell by the way they dress that they come from the metal family. So I think there's some crossover talk, and I'm pretty glad that this happens, because
Absolutely.
I mean at some point I realized for myself that the definition for metal for me is probably way different than for most people, because if you go to like a random person and you let them define metal, then it's probably instrumentation. So it's probably there has to be a distorted guitar and some kind of like drums or something like that. And this would also be part of my definition, that I say, okay, I acknowledge that this is like the common way people look at it. But at the same time, I realized when I also got into this contemporary music thing, that for me metal is more of is more a vibe than an instrument, a matter of instrumentation. So if I listen to like a Shostakovich quartet, it's way more metal than a lot of metal bands I would that are out there, at least for me, because I think there's also like, maybe you all have this in your social circle as well, when someone says, oh, that's pretty metal. a circumstance or an instance or like anything. So I started thinking a while ago, and then I reflected, and I think I found out for me it's more about the vibe a music emits and not so much the instrumentation. So if you go to
How do you define vibe?
I think this is a question where language is failing.
Okay.
So I can only say like it's an emotional response I
Yeah.
can sense in myself.
You just talked about Wagner a little bit, but indeed if you listen to those kinds of classical pieces, also I'm not sure which composer it is, but I've have this vivid
Paganini,
memory.
maybe?
No, I have this vivid memory of I used to play organ. My old organ teacher playing some kind of organ piece in a church, and that was so dark and so metal.
Yeah.
There is
Feel
a
the
lot of
heaviness on
metal
your
in
heart.
not metal music.
Exactly.
So I get what you mean.
Yeah, I think that's the point. It's also not necessarily a rhythm, because like there's this classical composer I really love called Gloria Coates, and unfortunately like she passed away 2023, but I think she's the most metal musician I know. Like if you listen to her, she was a contemporary classical composer, but she wrote 17 symphonies and has been arguably like the greatest female symphonist we actually had. And she's been living in Munich, and but she originates from the U.S. And her thing were glissandi, like a technique like the slides, and if you listen to her symphonies, it's so harsh and so dark and heavy with emotion.
Yeah.
And when you just listen to those dissonant glissandi, there's not necessarily rhythm going on, but it's just like there's like a heaviness to it.
Yeah.
And I think this heaviness is something people and artists feel, and some of them choose to express themselves with music, and some of us choose a distorted guitar and drum set, and she chose
Atmosphere
Do
or
it with a
vibe.
violin.
it with the violin and a string orchestra. So I think this would be my definition of metal, that it's an emotional, like I can sense myself having an emotional response to something that I feel has a certain heaviness to it, and then it's always about the human condition and a human struggle. Like you struggle with something. Like if you have like a very positive emotion, if you're like very balanced and you just fell in love, you're probably not gonna write a B9 or like like something very dissonant. So, but the moment you have an inner struggle, or you want to express some hardship, then I think that's then it's a matter of instrumentation what you choose. But then you can feel it, or at least like this. Then
Emit that vibe from you.
Exactly. Then it resonates with me.
Yeah. Nice. So, what do we play for the ensemble that you chose?
I got an
Florian?
excerpt from the latest project with the Flamenco Biennale. So I think it's like
All right.
2 or 3
It
minutes.
has a name, title?
Yes. Let me look it up because I'm not
Yes, so
fully
we can put it on the screen
I
also.
c- you can put it on the screen. I think, if I got this right, and I hope Flo won't crucify me, it's called Vientos Flamencos. So I think
Pretty
that's it.
simple.
course.
Everyone can read it.
Yeah.
Cantos Flamencos.
active music.
Your second choice, Nicky.
My second choice is a band that I actually never listened to until this episode.
All right.
Because I wanted to include a band that was at least started out older. This is a band from 1993. And they are still listed as active, but I don't think they're actually playing at the moment because they don't have a vocalist. So that's not necessary, but for their music it kind of is. And they're called Cirrha Niva, and they play more like Circus Maximus, Symphony X, like symphonic, progressive metal, but with like more of the 90s, like the 90s old school sound. So like these very, like the synths that you used to have in those days, but also the vocal lines that kind of remind me of like Rush and Kansas, for instance. Kansas, I think, might be one of their inspirations. That's at least what I heard when I listened to it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, very different from the current prog bands.
Scene.
Yeah, even though there are a few bands that like still are in that realm. But yeah, very symphonic. Also a little bit of gothic, because they don't have harsh vocals at all. They only have like the clean vocals with a little bit of an edge, but mainly clean. Some vocal harmonies with a female singer as well. But yeah, totally different, I think.
How many albums?
2 or 3.
Okay.
Yeah, 2 or 3.
What
Two
are they
albums
called
and an EP, I think.
Cirrha Niva?
Cirrha Niva, yes.
I should check them out.
And if you listen to their first album, I've listened to both. I think their first album, I liked it a little bit better than their second one, because the second one was more not necessarily modern, but the first album was more in the realm of like the Kansas and Rush, like the old school 90s vibe. And the second album that they did was more, then maybe more modern, but not modern in the sense that it was produced like right now. But it was from 2006, I think, so kind of recent. But the first album, they were, I think, more trying to think outside the box and doing different things. And they have a great variety of songs, also like some ballad type songs, some heavier stuff. And the one that I wanted to showcase in the episode is called Damon, which is one of their heavier songs, but really great bass riffs and intricate riffs as well. So Cirrha Niva.
All right, so
Here come-
I struggled.
Here come the albums.
Yes, I struggled if I should include the more I have two bands now. If I should include the more influential, the more known band in the main list, or the less known one. But for me, I chose the less known one, or the least known one, because I think overall I like them more in terms of vocals. Although the other one is, the vocalist is kind of legendary in the Dutch scene, although he's British, the guy is British, but the whole band decided to be in Holland, from Holland, and he lives in Holland. So we'll get back to that. So I chose the band called Harrow.
I've never heard of Harrow before.
This is I can safely say that this is one of my top 3 favorite Dutch bands of all time. And probably it's because of the unknown, the underdog status of the band, because people don't know them, even in the Dutch scene. They have 3 albums. They started out in, I think in the 80s, maybe early 90s. They are
Can I see that?
Yeah. I think on Metal Archives it says that they started out in the 80s. But the first album came out in the 90s. And yeah, they are more of like a progressive, heavy thrash metal, which...
I was just gonna say, these guys don't even look metal at all.
Yeah. They have a thrash element to them, but amazing musicianship, amazing lead guitarist, a vocalist, amazing vocalist. I'm a sucker for clean vocalists that, stay in tune, which is the case for the other band. So yeah, the first album, 94, then 96, then 99. But it started out in 1982. So 3 albums, and then they split up after 99.
Too bad.
And yeah, this band is like, I don't know how they're not famous. It's just, it's surprising because they have everything. Everyone who likes the old school heavy metal with thrash singing sometimes, but clean thrash, like Forbidden, like, the heavy metal dudes like Vicious Rumors, like Armored Saint, those bands, they should like this vocalist. This is another case of, remember last episode we were talking about Vengeance and the singers of heavy metal. This guy is up there for me. Absolutely. Not a single choice of bad note or bad vocal line. Not ever. He doesn't go out of tune at all, which was my problem in the previous episode.
Yeah.
There are a lot of clean singers in Holland. They don't have character. They don't have that grasp on staying in scale. Okay. And again, I mean, if you go out of scale or out of tune in a calculated manner, it's cool. But sometimes you hear the struggle, or they land on notes that you don't want, like Martyr, like we mentioned. Yeah, this guy doesn't do any of that. So unfortunately, they didn't continue. A mix of thrash, heavy, with an absolutely brilliant proggy shades over everything. Like, they have technical elements, they have odd time signatures, they have the dissonant chords, the stops, there's very detailed, detailed composition. They always surprise you with something, but they always keep the hook. That's important. There's always a hooky thing going on. Musicianship is off the chart. Solos, riffs, bass, vocals is incredible, with so many colors also. He has an aggressive, sneering voice to him. He can go low, not harsh, but low, clean, but with attitude. And then he can go high, soaring high. He can hit like, high pitches, falsetto, all of these brilliant. Again, he never loses tone, which is important to me in clean singing. Never off tune, always on point. The melodies that he chooses also are phenomenal. They're always catchy. There's always a hooky thing going on with the verses and the choruses. And this is the vocal style and timbre that I adore. A lot of grit, a lot of attitude, a lot of swag. Swag is always important for me in clean singing. So yeah, it's very satisfying. And they say also on the Metal Archives that they have power, prog power, but I don't hear that. For me, it's more heavy thrash. They have the thrash element sometimes, like the evil, heavy riffage. So yeah, it's an incredible band. It's like also kind of like Coroner in the technical progressive from Switzerland. They have that soul to them. So the song I want to choose here is called Terminal Attack. Amazing vocals in it, high pitches, thrash gang vocals, also gang thrash vocals, dissonant notes, amazing solos on the song. yeah, I want to say this band is such a gem, and it definitely is one of my all-time favorite Dutch metal bands. Yeah, so Harrow with Terminal Attack from the album called Call of the Unborn. Not from this one.
Oh, different
But
album.
still, yeah. I have it though. I tried to look for it and I couldn't find it in which pile it was.
Creating brains in every single cell. Your will remains. How long I cannot tell. Yeah. They just found out they're living in a cage within a crowd. They burst out in rage, yeah. Domination, resist as much you can. Limitation, infecting every man, yeah. They can't stop us now. What is on your mind? They can't stop us now. Terminology in me. You can't stop us now. What is on your mind? You can't stop us now. Terminology in me. Terminology in me. You can't stop us now! What is on your mind? You can't stop us now! Terminology in me! You can't stop us now! What is on your mind? You can't stop us now! Terminology in me! Terminology in me!
I remember when I went to school by bus, and there was this one dude who would get into the bus 2 bus stops later. So I would always like save a spot for him. And he never like barely spoke a word because he was always tired, and he was basically 4 or 5 years older than me. So I think he partied a lot, but he had, like, you could tell he was a metal dude. And then at some point he just gave me those tapes with Kill 'Em All and Ride the Lightning and Master of Puppets and Justice for All. So this was my introduction to metal music. But I have this distinct memory being in my room. It was like on the first floor, and my mom and my aunt were in the garden. It was summer, and the window was open. And I got my hands on Burn My Eyes from Machine Head.
Wow,
Machine.
dude.
And it was
one
like,
of my favorite albums.
exactly. And it's like just this small tape player, this mono tape player, and I cranked it, and which is, there's not real volume. But my aunt got really pissed, and she was like, "What is that noise?" And this was like, okay, that's my jam. I don't know.
If it pisses you off, then it's for me.
And I think I took it like this was where I really developed like taste, and this was like Machine Head. Like the Burn My Eyes is still one of my favorite albums. The
Awesome
compositionally choice. And also like the sound design is just awesome. And then KOCD, Sepultura, this followed, and then Rage Against the Machine. And then it slowly got on with like Korn and Slipknot like a little bit later, and Fear Factory. But I think the first 3 bands were basically Sepultura, Machine Head, and Fear Factory. This was my start into heavy music in the 90s.
Nice.
So I still enjoyed listening back, like more in a nostalgic feel. But honestly, like lately, I found this classical composer called David Lang, and he has this one album which is called Death Speaks, which is very heavy because, as you might imagine, it's about death, and and he wrote this for, I think it's just piano, guitar, and voice, if I recall correctly. And this is kind of metal in my book. Like there's an emotional heaviness to it that I can't listen to this like 24/7.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think it's very authentic and honest. So I did enjoy this.
That's when you start to venture into the other places outside of metal.
This I just found recently,
Oh,
like
recently,
a couple of weeks ago. So this is like a recent discovery, and I discovered it because there was like the string quartet Biennale in Amsterdam. So a lot of, I think, like 30 plus concerts by string quartets.
Okay.
And one string quartet was also playing music by him.
All
And a
right.
friend of mine gave me the tip to check it out because he loves David Lang, and then I got into this. So I think like if I look into my playlist, there's all kind of stuff like from. I think at some point, if you're into music, you stop thinking so much in genres, but you think does it resonate with me or not?
Yeah.
I ask you this question specifically because I am one of the people when I grew up, and I listened to prog and everything, but I was always fascinated when I see someone like Mike Portnoy specifically, he or the singer also James Labrie in the Pull Me Under video clip, he had a Napalm Death t-shirt. And Mike Portnoy, later on I realized and discovered that he listens to Metallica, he listens to Slayer. So for me, that always it validated metal. Like all these prog people that are very technical, very proficient in their instrument, they still listen to the basic metal, For me, it always validated that. And I always respected musicians who still didn't look down on, the basic music. So it made me respect prog musicians more. There's even a show at the Dream Theater, they're playing the whole Master of Puppets album with the singer of Napalm Death. Did you see that show?
Yeah.
It's like in the 90s.
Yeah,
That was incredible to me.
I
was
wasn't
like,
alive then, but
for me, that made me love Dream Theater even more. Like you guys are not snobs, that just listen to I just want bourbon music. You can venture into different things and go to the simple, old school metal and rock also, like Guns N' Roses and Skid Row.
But what you said with not really listening to genres, I really hate the genre boxes because I cannot define if it's death metal or black metal or doom metal.
Yeah.
And there's elements of all these genres in everything you listen to.
That's true. Even bands themselves, they don't. Some of them they don't know. Like you talk about bands like Possessed, for example. Did they create death metal or did Death create death metal? Oh no, Possessed. They didn't have the grit, the growl of the singing. Like, dude, who gives a shit? Just enjoy the music. Doesn't matter, thrash, death. But yeah, it's sometimes. For me, it validates also the fact that you can, if this is black, this is death, this is blah blah, and people, they gravitate towards different things, and you can include all of those, and you can appeal to these crowds and these crowds. But yeah, for me, prog heads specifically, I like to ask them. I like to see their simplistic side. It's for me. It's always cool to know their, the simple, mundane per se
Totally.
tastes. Yeah. So
I also I think you have like I said before, you can mostly never generalize.
Yep.
So of course we're talking about there's like a prog police. So there's certainly dudettes on the planet
Yep.
who exclusively listen to prog,
Prog,
and this is their only
exactly,
thing.
exactly.
And if it makes them happy, then it's totally fine with me.
but it is a box still.
But it's a box. But I
Exactly.
also get that we have. I mean, I think when you're young, you're getting also into certain genres because you are looking for who you are in life,
Yep.
and then you often define yourself as a young person because you gravitate to a certain group, and then the genres kind of make sense. Like I like the black metal thing, so I'm like a black metal dude.
Yep.
But I think when you get older and you've found who you are, or your personality is more developed because more time has passed, then those things don't become so important anymore.
Yeah.
100%.
True.
So I think like the applying genres also has a certain kind of validity. Like if we're talking about is it black metal, then I immediately have a certain aesthetic in my head, and then I can relate to it. So it kind of makes sense. But as someone who makes music, I don't think about this. Like
The parameters of the
I just try to listen what the song wants, and
Yep,
then
yep,
I
yep.
go in this direction. And
Yep.
I try to listen. Yeah.
That's really cool, because I've always also respected, that's my take, musicians who indeed are listeners, not just musicians, who don't stay in one lane. There's a lot of people that tell you, I cannot clean vocals. No clean
Yeah.
vocals, only harsh. I listen Black and Death. And for me, you're missing out on a lot of good music.
Yeah.
But some people, they just don't. Indeed, they have like a closed door. They cannot accept, like high-pitched vocals, for
Yeah.
example, or some of them the opposite. They cannot accept any harsh vocals,
Yeah.
screaming and growling and
Yeah.
all that. And for me, that was always weird. I always, like taught myself to like all of them. Like,
Yeah.
careful, never hate any of
Yeah.
them.
Shout outs.
Shout-outs.
I
He says the shout-outs. He's the guest.
I'm the guest with two.
do you have a shout out?
Choose one band. Let's choose one band each.
Well
How
then
about that for the episode? You want to go? She has an itch.
Just one.
it's just
She worked hard.
well, admittedly, I don't have too many interactions with Dutch prog metal bands, hopefully yet.
Okay.
But I mean, I saw Big Moth twice now, and I also, as I said, Misha filled in for Fred at the gig in Germany in early January. So yeah, shout out to Big Moth. It's great musicians, great bands.
They are. They're the
Great
one
people.
ones who won.
Yeah.
Or this is the band who won the
Yeah.
Northgronds.
yeah,
That's
the one
one,
that
yeah.
we were in, and they were pretty good.
Yeah. Also, their singer Zemma is
Yeah.
really fucking amazing.
Yep.
And
Very good presence on stage and
I
nice
heard
contrast.
their first track. I forgot what it's called, but they released that I think 2 years ago now. And then I kept pushing them to hear new music from them, but they didn't have a drummer. But the album is coming, so I'm really looking forward to that.
Fingers
Good for them.
crossed.
Good for them. They have a big thing going on, I think, like Hyla.
Yeah.
What about you?
Yeah, so there's a big list of names that I wanted to include in the shoutouts, but apparently I can only choose one.
I mean, choose two if you want. You're the
well-
boss. I'm not.
I'm not the boss of anything. But the band that I forgot about, and then I started listening to it again for the podcast, and I was like, why the fuck did I forget about this band, and why didn't I listen to it anymore? Is Exvius.
Oh
And
yeah.
I'm not sure that I'm pronouncing that correctly, but that's it actually pretty similar to what you do with Behind Closed Doors as well. And it's also with Yuma and Robin Seahorst, who is also one of the names that popped up in a bunch of different prog projects. And he's now playing bass in
Obscura.
Obscura. Yeah, I was trying to remember. He's playing bass in Obscura now, so I'm not sure that we can call that a Dutch band if that's only one Dutchie in it, but still, yeah,
Spreading
amazing.
the tentacles
Yeah,
to
for
Germany.
sure. But Exvius, they don't exist anymore. But that's also a band that yeah, I would listen to on repeat for days. I think.
All right. I know them. I know a few songs from them. It's Good choice. I completely forgot about them. So my shout out, which was gonna make the main list, but yeah, this is more influential than Harrow, I think, more known. But when I compared the two, again, it's the vocals that made it, made them go down. Although the singer again is Ian Perry, who's probably in his late 60s now. British guy, he lives in Holland. The band is Elegy, progressive power. Think the vein of Symphony X, Dream
Yeah.
Theater, those bands.
Was also on my in my maybe list.
I got just 3 albums. Yeah, it's an important band. They have 7 albums. Musically, they are phenomenal. They're magnificent musically. Vocally, sometimes he's on point, sometimes not. Sometimes it's just like a drag. Like you can hear that he's struggling a little bit or choosing vocal lines that I feel like they don't match what's going on behind them. It doesn't hook you immediately. But again, I think it's one of the most famous or most notable prog power bands in Holland. They've been going strong since the 80s. I think started out in 1986. They started putting out albums in the early 90s. I forgot when their last album was, to be honest. But yeah, they got 7 albums. Very melodic, very sometimes heavy power metal, but sometimes heavy with chugging riffs in like Symphony X, Michael Romeo type of playing. You can hear that. Some synth here and there. The 90s way, like you mentioned, with the what's the band called? Cirrha Nova?
Yeah,
Something like that. But not heavily.
Cirrha Niva.
Cirrha Niva. Not too heavy on the symphonic, more on the guitar and melody and harmony. But great band, legacy band, obviously. Yeah, all their albums are cool musically. Vocal-wise, song by song. It's up to you if you like or you don't like. Even on Metal Archives, all of their albums have like 90% reviews, 85%. They're always getting high reviews. People love them, obviously. So yeah, they needed to be mentioned, and I think they're more influential than Harrow, obviously. But yeah, for me,
It's always
want
fun.
them
You
to shout
say
out.
for the shout outs, you keep it short and then you go on for like 5
yeah,
minutes.
yeah, because this is like kind of like when it's an important band. I feel like you need to give them.
Sure.
That's it. I would have said more, but it's enough.
All right.
One
Closing
more.
off with we're just gonna.
Done? You want to do one more?
No,
Are you done?
there's a whole bunch of bands.
Spit out names, maybe.
There, I'll just name one because I'm also that's the shirt that I'm wearing actually, Democron.
Yes.
I need to give Democron a shout out because I really like the one song that they just put out or put out like 2 years ago already as well, Bleed. They are gonna release an album later this year as well. Also, in the same style as Big Mod. If you like Big Mod, then you're probably gonna like Democron as well.
I want to give a shout out to Hollow Earth too.
Yeah.
We discovered them.
Hologram Earth.
Hologram Earth.
Yeah,
sorry.
that was
We
also.
discovered them on Tiplijst, and this band.
But that's also the thing with this episode. I was looking through Metal Archives, and tons of bands are not on Metal Archives.
No.
In the progressive realm.
I think because it's more progressive rock. I think they didn't put them there.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe, but yeah.
But
Anyway.
killer band from this song that I heard.
Behind closed doors.
What's
When are
coming?
When are we getting new music?
Hopefully later this year. I think we basically finished the pre-production for the next single. So it's drum tracking hopefully soon, within the next couple of weeks. And then it's guitars and bass and then
Instrumental.
string quartet. And then, I mean, the last 3 singles we always went also with a video again.
Mm-hmm.
So we're trying to do this as well. And we'll see how it turns out. Because a couple of videos I did by myself. I mean, I love movies and I also like stop motion and doing that stuff. But of course, it's very time consuming. And I'm not a professional when it comes to that. But who knows? Maybe there's something brewing with some people who are very proficient with making videos. So we'll see.
So is it an album or an EP or just
No,
singles?
it's like, as for now, I just decided to go single by single.
Single by single.
So I have probably like worth of like 60, 70 minutes of new material on
Wow.
on my hard disk. But I mean, it's kind of difficult because like all the participating musicians are also doing other stuff besides behind closed doors. So to getting them all together is next to impossible to go to a studio like we did with the last full length. So I'm doing bit by bit, and I also like that it's you can concentrate on one song, and also like if we continue doing this, like having a video for every song, then it's also time consuming to come up with a concept, because like sometimes there's like a storyline, like it's really like a proper little short film, like a little movie, and sometimes it's more visuals, and this one's going to be with a plot. So
Nice.
so this is very time consuming, and so for now I opted for doing like single by single.
Nice, because I mentioned earlier when talking about Behind Closed Doors that your songs sound like a movie soundtrack. It's very visual without the vocals.
Yeah, thanks in the first place. I'm hearing this a lot, but I have to say I'm glad it resonates within people this specific way, but I'm not really like planning it this way. Like, of course, I'm in a place where I'm not doing this kind of prog thing because I know what a 9/8 is or a triplet or something, but I'm just trying to write songs and listen what comes out. So I always say like I very often don't feel like a composer, but more like an archaeologist. Like I start digging, and then I find a bone, and then I want to see, okay, what is it?
Kind of animal?
What kind of animal is in there? So I excavate it, and then I love sharing it and present it to people. So and of course, like I'm also very story driven. I think like most artworks tell a kind of a story, so it kind of makes sense also pairing instrumental music with a kind of like a visual story, and then I just
Like
try
a soundtrack to
exactly.
Yep.
So I think that's a very nice format to not only make music, but then expand it to like the visual component and see what you can do with it. So yeah,
Cool. Looking forward
Very
to that.
excited for it, man. And
Thank you.
I'm sure it's gonna be something
I hope
great.
so.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed.
It's probably gonna,
Behind closed doors,
it's gonna end up in a tip list at some point later this year.
for
probably.
sure, for sure. We're gonna dissect it.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you so much for being here, Chris.
Thank you so much for having me. It was fun.
Hope
to
you
talk
had
to
fun.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And thank you all for watching, and see you for the next episode.
Bye.